to look back at this.
How does he maintain possession?
Jenkins, and that definitely was a little helmet-to-helmet on that hit.
Guys, Meredith Gorman here, and are you still not subscribed to Matt's channel? Well, if you're not, hit the subscribe button because he's giving out free picks each and every week. Hope you have a good rest of your day.
NFL Week 4 is here, guys. So far, the year of the upsets. What a wild start to the season. Like usual, though, guys, I will look at 3 games, including the Monday Nighter, provide my favorite teaser and underdog options of the week. Systemsportscapping.com or link.me/systemcapping for updated records, client comments, resume, and client opportunities. Currently handicapping the NFL, PGA, UFC, NBA, NHL are around the corner. Caught by a few upsets again last week, guys. Again, mainly the Bengals and 49ers. We'll talk about that here shortly. You know, the books have been killing. I know a couple bookmakers, a couple guys that work in the industry, they're laughing right now. They're laughing. You know, I do expect it to turn around. Oh, it's early. It's week 3. You just don't normally see this many upsets early in the season all packed in at once, right? They come throughout the year, right? You're going to get caught throughout the year with upsets and, you know, favorites that you like. But I haven't seen this many all at once early in the year. So it's definitely interesting. Some upsets from last week. Let's go over them, guys. Right? We thought week 2 and week 1, there was more this week. Right? Washington, plus 7.5. They went into Cincy and beat them outright on Monday Night Football with Jaden Daniels having a big game. Coming out party for Jaden Daniels. Hats off to him. Tip my cap to him. Obviously, that Cincinnati Bengals defense is struggling. Burrow was fine, right? They still put up over 30 points. But they couldn't stop me if I was at QB. Broncos plus 6.5 versus Bucks. Some say that was a trap game for the Bucks. Did I see Broncos with Bo Nix going on the road and winning that game outright? No. I definitely didn't see that. Could they cover? Sure, but you know, Bo Nix proven to be serviceable in that game, and Bucks could be, you know, not as good as people thought they were. Packers plus 3 over Titans. Sure. If Willis was able to continue to play well, and he has. You know, I bet against Willis, right? That was the system play to bet against Malik Willis. He has been terrible in the NFL up until these 2 games, right? He's using his legs. He's hitting timely throws. Titans defense was playing well coming into that game. Did not expect Willis to be that serviceable for the Packers, to be honest. Rams over 49ers. This was just a bad beat. Even McVay his press conference was, holy shit, wow. Right? 21-7 in the third. 24-14 in the fourth, guys, for the 49ers. Cruising, playing well. Jennings, unbelievable game. Purdy playing well. Defense playing well, and it all falls apart late. Just a tough beat if you're on the 49ers there. Panthers plus 5 over Raiders. You know, Dalton, you know, obviously improved that offense. Didn't see Panthers winning out right there, but plus 5.5 probably was a smart play there. Eagles plus 3 over Saints. We called that one. That was good. Free play underdog of the week, so hopefully you did tail that. Giants plus 6.5 over Browns. No way. That I didn't see. Neighbors coming out party as well there. Jones looks serviceable. Vikings plus 2.5 over Texans. Sure, right? Vikings look really well, but how they limited Stroud. That defense is playing outstanding. We'll talk about that here shortly. The main ones that I didn't see happening, obviously Panthers, Giants, Rams, Washington. You know, I would say that had no shot to win, and these teams are winning. So it's very impressive. Fun fact here, 9 of 15 teams, 6-point underdogs or more, have won outright. You just don't see that. You don't see that. So it's been a wild start, guys. Adjusting the handicapping slightly, not a ton, because you can't overreact. You can't overreact after 3 weeks. I stress that enough to you guys. Do not overreact. Things will come down to earth. I did have some nice winners, right? I mentioned the 2 main ones. Obviously, Willis caught us, and then the 49ers, Bengals. But we did have some nice winners last week. Obviously, Eagles underdog. We were on Steelers in 2 markets. We went 1-0 on prop. bets, player props. You guys know player props, high percentage winning in the mid 60s lifetime. So Stephon Diggs over 46 receiving yards. He hit over 90. I expect him to be the focal point of that offense going into that game against Vikings, his old team, and that panned out well. We're also on the under in the Vikings game. 3-1 on totals to start the year. That's the biggest highlight so far. And then the Colts as well. We were on -1. So, it was good. We had some winners, right? It wasn't like it was a totally bad week, but not enough, mainly due to those upsets. Biggest power ranking moves I mentioned, guys, have a power ranking, adjust them each week. I do that. My biggest power ranking moves to start the year, definitely the Vikings. I did not have them this good. I did not have the Bills this good. Keep in mind, I'll talk about it later, but the Bills, strength of schedule, not the toughest so far. Steelers, impressive. Impressive, the Steelers defense mainly. And then Seattle, all moved up in my power rankings. Moving down 49ers, slightly due to the injuries. We don't want to overreact there. Jacksonville moved way down in my power rankings, even though I wasn't that high on them coming into the year. Bengals is a huge downgrade as well. And then also what was the other team? Miami as well moved down. This week we'll look at two big games like usual. I talked the big games here, guys. Packers versus Vikings, huge game. Ravens versus Bills, another big game. And then the big Monday nighter, Lions versus Seahawks, the 3-0 Seahawks. Speaking of 3-0 teams, there are 5, guys. 5 coming into week 4. I would say maybe 3 of them are surprising. I didn't, like the Bills, sure, I didn't expect to have a great year. But if you look at their strength of schedule in the first 3 wins, Jags, Arizona, Miami. I'm not that impressed there, but they looked impressive doing it. It wasn't like winning super close games. The Arizona game was close, but it was the first game of the year. Allen's just been MVP start, right? Big tests on the road in Baltimore this week. We'll talk about that more later. Chiefs, no surprise. We don't have to talk about them there. A couple close games, though, right? The Ravens game was close, and then that Bengals game. So, and all 3 games actually were close. The Atlanta game, too. So, they haven't been cruising, but they're 3-0, no surprise. Seattle, a bit of a surprise. However, if you look at the strength of schedule, you're not that surprised. Pats, Dolphins, Broncos. So let's not overreact on Seattle. Good team, though. I expect them to be good with McDonald running that team. Steelers, maybe a little surprised that D's been impressive. And QB just hasn't been turning the ball over, right? Fields hasn't been turning the ball over, so that's why. And then the Vikings, that D's just been impressive, right? Big win over Houston, made them look like they were a bad team, blowout fashion. We'll be talking that game shortly, right after we hear from my friend Kristen.
For you sports bettors out there, let's be honest, you probably need a little bit of help beating those books. System Capping is a proven long-term winner against the sports betting market in multiple sports. He's built a worldwide clientele due to his high winning percentage over the years. Be sure to click the link on the bio down here to check out his profile, and you can also find out his resume, client comments, podcasts, and subscription opportunities. I'm going to be following him along too, so let's win something together this season.
Let's get right into it. Vikings at Packers. Packers -2.5. Total 43.5. Now you have to think this line is because they think Love is playing. Or maybe not. Maybe not. Because Malik Willis has been impressive, serviceable. I would say he's impressive in the Titans game. The Colts game, just serviceable. Didn't really turn over the ball much, if at all. That Titans game, though, he looked good. So hats off to him, right? Tip my cap to him. Those type of positions I would bet against most times. I believe it would hit most times in those type of situations. It did not here. The Packers D was the big reason, though, as well, right? For those 2 wins, let's be honest here. But they're playing the Colts and the Titans. Colts and Titans offense. Keep that in mind, guys. Colts and Titans offense. Now, some worth mentioning D stats from the Packers, though, right? 12th in points allowed at 19. Not bad. 6th in sacks at 3.7. That's solid. 1st in interceptions. That's where you're going to have it. And there's a couple return for TDs, too, in both those wins with Willis. So that's important there. Solid against the run, too, at 10th, right? 105 a game not bad there. And they've allowed passing yards kind of high at 222 a game. So that was where teams are able to take a little advantage. Can Sam Darnold? That will be the question. But it's been the Packers' run game on offense that's been the big difference, right? First in yards, first in attempts, and second in total yards per play. So we're going to see that battle against the Vikings, where the Vikings have been great against the run. That's what I'm excited for. I'm excited to watch matchups, right? That's what I like watching when I'm watching a game. So we're going to see this first overall rush attack versus second overall in 73 yards allowed by the Vikings rush D. Third in yards per attempt. So this is going to be a fun battle, right? You can throw a bit on the Vikings, though. You can throw on them. So if Love is back, that will be music to his ears, as they say. 239 a game they're allowing in the air. So I think that's the way to beat the Vikings team, if you can throw on them. Can Willis throw on them enough? I don't believe so. But if Love is playing, of course he could, right? Packers have won 2 of the 3 last meetings between these guys, between these two. Keep that in mind. They're both blowouts in 2023. That's something worth mentioning here. I'm staying away from betting the Packers. I've been betting against them. Sorry, I've been hurt already betting against them, fading Willis. If he plays again here, you expect a lot more rushing, right? More yards. I don't expect him to throw a ton. So that would be interesting to see. I would lean the under 43.5 if Willis plays. So wait for that. If Love is playing, they're going to be able to get down the field a little quicker than Willis can. So I do expect it probably to get over, especially with Sam Darnold playing well. Sam Darnold's playing well, right? Vikings are averaging 28 points per game, guys. 28 points per game on the year. Very impressive, right? But yeah, that total would, I believe, get over the 43.5 if Love is playing. If not, we could see a lot of rushing. We could see Jones use a lot in this game in a revenge spot as well. So I would lean the under if Willis plays. Wait for the game time for that. I did mention about the job that Brian Flores is doing for his defensive coordinator in a previous video, but he's continued to do it, guys. The guy that nobody wanted as the head coach is starting to show, maybe we need to sign this guy. Very impressive, right? The skies as he's throwing out there, limited Stroud. Stroud had no idea what he was looking at last week. Great packages, disguises he's throwing out there. Love what I'm seeing from Brian Flores. And it's not like he has a bunch of great defensive players, guys. Right? They lost some guys last year. So he's doing it as a system and a package, and it's very impressive to watch. Let's see if Vikings can continue that against the Packers on the road. If you can get +3 out there, I would lean the Vikings just due to that defense. So shop around there. Bills versus Ravens. Ravens -2.5, total 46.5. What a game we have here on Sunday night. 2 of the best QBs in the league. One playing at MVP level, one not that far behind, but we've seen him win the MVP multiple times already. Allen has looked like an MVP so far. What can I say after 3 games versus average is 133 QB rating. 75% completion percentage, 34 yards, and 7 TDs. Impressive part here, guys, 0 interceptions. That's the most impressive stat to me because we know he struggles and he turns the ball over a lot. He hasn't been doing that so far. Very impressed with him. Lamar Jackson, 95 rating, 65% completion percentage. More passing yards than Allen, 702, 3 TDs, and 1 interception. Now, he runs a lot, of course, as well, right, Lamar? 350 rushing yards. 250 rushing yards, on the ground. Couple TDs in there as well. So keep that in mind. Also looking good, Lamar. Not many had this Ravens team starting 0-2, if any. They got that big road win in Dallas. Huge win for them. Huge win. But the comeback, it's just very concerning, and no one knows why, really. And again, fourth quarter, Dallas came back and made it a 3-point game when Ravens were blowing them out. It's mind-boggling why, right? And they had the right game plan, right? They're running King Henry over 150 yards. He took over. He looked like the King Henry we know. Took over that game, 150 yards, 2 TDs. Men versus boys out there, I look like when King Henry was running. Lamar ran as well all over them. Well, that's interesting to see. Now, if we look at Bills' rush D, it's going to be important here. Not great, right? 16th, 118 a game. So that's the matchup we're going to want to watch again here. King Henry, Lamar. How are the Bills going to be able to handle that, right? They've been good against the pass. 9th in yards allowed so far. 2nd in big plays per play. That's important, guys. 2nd, right? Limit the big plays. You're usually going to do well. Ravens offense is great all over the stat board, right? Top 5 in all categories. 1st in passing yards. 1st in yards per play. 2nd in rushing yards. Yet they're 1-2 on the year. Should be 2-1. Let's be honest, guys. Look at the Ravens D. They have struggled in the air so far in that secondary. And when you look at the names on paper, you're surprised. I do expect it to change. I understand that, but 23rd in yards allowed. They struggled last year too in the secondary in yards allowed. 26 in yards per play. That's just not good. It's not going to cut it, guys, if you want to be one of the best teams in the NFL. Now, against the run, it's been outstanding to say the least. 50 yards per game. 1st in the NFL. Want to hear what the league average is, guys? 119 league average. So Cook could be in for a long day. You might not be able to run on this team. Allen might have to beat them in the air with his limited weapons. We should see Allen versus Ravens secondary as the main matchup here. How's that going to play out? I expect him to attack in the air with his limited weapons, and I got to give him his credit. He doesn't have a number 1 wide receiver. He has just a bunch of guys, good tight end, obviously, with Kincaid. But he's just spreading it around. Well, that's why it's impressive even more with that QB rating, that completion percentage. Shakir, Coleman, a couple other guys here and there. It's just, obviously they were using Cook well, right? Out of the backfield, passing, dumping off, running him well. He's been a big part of this offense. Allen scrambles when he needs to as well. But they don't have that number 1 wide receiver. And so far, it hasn't been an issue. Let's see if it's an issue against a good defense in the Ravens. I would have to lean the Ravens here due to the spot to avoid going down 1-3. Remember, Bills have beat the Jags, the Dolphins, the Cardinals. Huge step up in competition, in my opinion, on the road in Baltimore. Tough spot. I'm going to have to lean the Ravens here at -2.5 total. Not too sure on the total here. Monday nighter, guys. Seattle at Lions, at Detroit Lions. 3.5 total, 46.5. That hook 3.5 could be key here if you do like Seattle. Seattle's one of those 3-0 teams, soft schedule, right? I mentioned that. Pats, Dolphins without Tua, and Broncos. Still the Seattle team we expect to be good. I expect them to be like a wild card team. McDonald I really like, came over from Baltimore. D's getting better. A lot of young guys on that D, especially in that secondary, and they're just getting better year after year. So I expect the Seattle team to be good. We'll see how good they can be when it's week 18, week 17 at the end of the year. What do they finish off, right? I knew the offense is always going to be solid. They have a ton of weapons out there, right? You could say arguably one of the best wide receiver core in the NFL. And then their running backs are solid too, Charbonnet and Walker. Walker's been out though, and it shows on the stats in the run game so far. Right? They've been doing it mainly through the air. 8th in yards, 13th in yards per play. But the run game has been effective with Walker out. He might be back for this game. So watch that. That'll be a big boost for Seattle. We know it's tough to run the ball anyways, though, on the Lions, right? 4th in rushing yards in all categories. So you expect Geno to have to beat this team with his arm. So you got to expect that. But Lions defense in the air has been good too. 10th in yards allowed. And it's been the Lions defense that's been more impressive than the offense. The offense, sure, it has looked good with yards, right? Rushing yards, yards per play. Yes, it's all been good, but they haven't been finishing in the red zone, and they haven't been converting on third downs, and this limits them to averaging 20 points per game, right? Keep in mind that Arizona-Detroit game, everyone thought it was going to be a shootout. What did it end? 2013 or something? They scored 20 points. Struggled against the Bucs in the red zone. So the offense hasn't been as good as the stats show because they haven't been able to score in the red zone. So they should fix that. It's only 3 weeks, like I mentioned. But yeah, don't let the yards fool you. Sometimes the yards don't tell the whole story. Look at points per game. Look at red zone, stuff like that as well. Worth mentioning here, Seattle is 3-0 in the last 3 meetings between these two, and 8-1 in the last 9. Now, going further back, Lions were shit, but the 3-0 is worth mentioning. They beat Detroit in overtime in week 2 last year. Keep that in mind, guys. The only way I could look at this is Seattle plus 3.5. If I had to bet it, that's the only way I could look. I think Lions should sneak this game up, but I think it should be close, field goal type game. But yeah, it's going to be a big step up for Seattle. So let's see if that strength of schedule was the reason for the 3-0, or is this team really for real and, a playoff type of, I wouldn't say Super Bowl contender, but, maybe a deep run into the playoffs. Are they that team? If they can go on the road, beat the Detroit Lions and move to 4-0, I think they are. But let's see. Let's see if they're there. This game probably won't make my client card. You could also maybe look at the Lions in like the teaser market. That could be an option. Speaking of teasers, let's talk about the teaser options this week. Obviously, the Bengals ruined that last week. This week, we're going to look at the Jets, guys. Jets to just win at home. I don't see back-to-back good for performances from Bo Nix, especially against this Jets defense on the road. And Aaron Rodgers is starting to play some good football. Switch it up here a little bit. Let's take Arizona plus 3.5. Plus 3.5 at home. Washington on a short week, guys. All excited after that big win, and then they come into play. A good team in Arizona. Arizona's been playing good. They had the hardest strength of schedule so far. Lions, Bills. Keep that in mind, guys. And they played those two teams well. So Arizona plus 3.5, I think, is a good look here. Underdog options to end the podcast. Hit on another one last week for you guys. Eagles plus 130. Hopefully you hit that ugly win, though, right? It wasn't like they ran away with the game. But my theory was the Saints were overhyped. And if you're getting Eagles plus 130 as the better team, even without A.J. Brown, you pull the trigger. And that's what happened here. Eagles were able to win that game. Ton of options this week, right? It seems like every week there's a ton of options. Bills, Rams, Bucks, Browns, Seattle. A ton of options. My favorite one, I'm going to have to take a shot on the Browns here. I don't like what I see from the Raiders. Already talking about getting rid of Minshew. They should be 0-3. Browns plus 115. That would be my favorite bet for the underdog market this week. That will do it, guys. That will do it. NFL Week 4 is here. I expect things to start getting back down to earth and have a good middle part here of the season. Like I always say, guys, bet smart and know your limits. Enjoy NFL Week 4.